Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. Today we are heading to Eldritch Moon Standard to check out a super sweet deck from over in Japan. This one comes to us from Kodera Yasunori, so congrats to Kodera on their super sweet deck. This is Red Black Vampires, and as I'm sure you can see, it is almost budget. It's not intentionally budget, but it happens to be super cheap. So if you're looking for a spicy and cheap vampire deck to start playing in Eldritch Moon Standard, this might be the deck for you. A quick reminder before we break down the deck: if you like this deck and want to see it made into videos, take a minute, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, click the like button, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Red Black Vampires in Standard is kind of sort of madness themed. So we get a bunch of new cards from Eldritch Moon right off the bat. Stromkirk Condemned, a 2-drop, sort of a temporary vampire lord. We can discard a card to pump all our vampires. Plus, it's a free discard outlet. We can only do it once a turn, but still lets us discard a card for free. Actually, all the cards you can see right now are in one way or another discard outlets with upside. Olivia lets us discard a card when another creature enters the battlefield, and if we do, we give that creature haste and a +1/+1 counter. Heir of Falkenrath, we can discard a card to flip it around into a 3/2 flyer. And Collective Brutality, we can discard multiple cards, kill something, duress away a collected company, even drain our opponent's life, gain a little bit of life to help win the race. So these cards allow us to discard cards. So what are we looking to discard? Well, we have a ton of Madness cards and a bunch from Eldritch Moon. So Asylum Visitor, not new, it's been around for a while, but it's really aggressive. If we get all the way down to being empty-handed or get our opponent empty-handed, we can start drawing cards, extra cards on our upkeep for the cost of 1 life. Cost 2 mana, we can Madness it for 2 mana. As a 3/1, it dies to a lot, but it is an aggressive body if we can get it in. Bloodhall Priest is kind of like Shocktongue Kavu. When it enters the battlefield, it does 2 damage to a creature or player if we have no cards in our hand. So not only does it have madness itself, so we can cast it for only 3 mana and get a 4/4 body out of the deal, but if we get all the way empty-handed, we get to kill something or go to our opponent's face while we're at it. Voldaren Pariah is really good if you can Madness it. For 3 mana, you get a 3/3 flyer, plus you can sack 3 creatures. When you flip it around, it becomes a 6/5 flyer and forces the opponent to sacrifice 3 creatures of their own. And then, of course, Fiery Temper, a removal spell, gives the deck some reach. Cast it for 1 mana when we discard it. So we get a bunch of powerful discard outlets, most of them free discard outlets, and then a bunch of things we want to discard so we can play them for cheaper with Madness. And then we have a few random things. Haunted Dead is a weird one. It is not technically a vampire. It is kind of expensive, but it is both something that we don't mind discarding, because when you get it back from the graveyard by discarding 2 cards and only 2 mana, it's a pretty good deal. You get a 2/2 on the ground plus a 1/1 flyer. So we don't mind discarding it. Plus, it's kind of a discard outlet on its own once it's in the graveyard because of that discard 2 cards abilities. And then Cletus, just super powerful. It's one of the best cards in Standard. And then Indulgent Aristocrat is another pseudo-vampire lord. You gotta sack a creature to do it and pay 2 mana, but it puts a +1/+1 counter on all our vampires, so the buff it gives is permanent, which isn't bad for a 1-drop. The rest of the deck, just a couple Grasp of Darkness as additional removal spells to go along with the Collective Brutalities. In the mana base, a bunch of red-black dual lands, some swamps, and then a single Gaia Reach Sanitarium to do some looting. As far as the sideboard, we get some more removal. Deadweights, Lightning Axes. Lightning Axe is also a discard outlet. Virulent Plague to deal with tokens from Nissas and Gideons and so forth. And then we get some control-ish stuff. Transgress the Mind to fight against controlled decks, planeswalkers, collected companies. Obnixilis to grind out value, draw some cards, kill some things. An Incurable Use is another Madness card. It's kind of aggressive. I guess this could maybe come in a control matchup as well. Not 100% sure. And then Swift Warkite is another good way to grind out value from the graveyard. Don't usually see this one, but when it enters the battlefield, you get back a creature with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard, and it gains haste, but then it bounces back to your hand at the beginning of the end step. So you can get back like an Olivia or something, swing in for some damage, maybe close out the game that way, and leave behind the big flying body. So that is Red-Black Vampires in Eldritch Moon Standard. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's Instant Deck, and I will talk to you soon.